I know that I got what it takes to be a beauty queen.
This latest episode of Happily Ever After is setting us up for something big, I think. This particular episode didn't really have a lot going on, but it's information that I think they're going to follow through on in the next episode. So I've combined all of the couples in this one video so we can get a quick update. Let's get into it.
It feels like I'm dreaming.
Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We're here to discuss the latest episode of 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After. As I mentioned, this episode didn't really have big standouts, so I'm gonna go ahead and recap all of the couples in this one video. Before we do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's start with Angela and Michael. I think they have a big moment. If you know, you know. You see these two the morning after their big conversation where Angela looked like she was on Ambien, and Michael finally got the opportunity to speak. The next morning, she looks a little tussled, if you know what I mean. And she's like, Michael, just because I'm smiling doesn't mean that everything's okay. She's like, I'm watching you. And honestly, I'm in disbelief that Michael has been this strong this whole time to handle this, because I think that this is ridiculous. Because how can anyone have any real sense of peace under those conditions, okay? And Angela's going on and on about her wanting him to say the truth and not just say what he thinks she wants to hear. But my question is, Angela, have you met you? You say that you don't want him to answer questions that get to test, yet you go off on him if he says the wrong word. So it's like, you say you want one thing, but when you get it, you're a mess. Like, yeah, maybe let him finish a sentence or two before you flip out. I know that Michael is a grown man, but I think that he's terrified of her, and you can't tell me different. So the next scene that we see Angela, she's walking along the airport and she's going on about being away from home for a month and how hard it's been. And all of a sudden we hear a little voice, and it's Michael. Michael has finally reached America. Well, when the camera pans to Michael and he's wearing this American flag varsity jacket, I said, wow, one. But also, I'm kind of into the jacket. But what's standing out the most is Michael's big smile. He is in disbelief that he's finally made it after years and years of dealing with her, dealing with the visa process. He's just taking it all in. You know, it doesn't take long for Angela to go on about, now that he's here, that doesn't mean that everything's forgotten. He has to earn my trust again. And if she's on this, which we expected, but it's just like, girl, he just got here, give it a moment. I can see why he left in under how many months? Because constantly being like, you have to earn anything when you don't feel like you have to earn anything. It's irritating, but also feels a little dehumanizing. I'm just like, this is supposed to be a joyous moment. Let it last longer than 5 minutes, okay? And so in the car ride to their house, Angela drops the news that while she's excited, she hasn't told Skyla and her grandkids that he's coming. They're under the impression that she's coming back home and he stayed over there waiting for the visa to happen. So she's going to give these people a heart attack, okay? And so the plan is, you need to stay in the car for like 5 minutes. Let me go in, I guess, look at the lay of the land, and then you could come in. I can already tell you right now, the kids are obviously going to be overjoyed because it's, the element of surprise. Skyla's going to be like, Mama, really, Mama? Because she hates that man. And that setup is so uncomfortable for me. One, is way too many people in the house. Two, Skyla hates Michael's guts. And I would hate to be either of them living under that condition. Skyla uncomfortable with some random man in her house that's now her stepdaddy. And then Michael, I'm sorry, living with these women that can gang up against him at any moment. It sounds a bit hellish to me. So we'll see how that unfolds in the next episode. Let's move on to the next couple, Ashley and Manuel. So as you guys recall, they had a very, very heated fight over the money situation, over the fact that he's moving really shady about it. He's expecting a lot from her. And when she called his best friend Jonathan for a little intel, he dropped the news that Manuel has been talking to his baby mom. And of course, you should be talking to your baby mom. You have children together. But the problem is that Ashley says that Manuel gave her the impression that they don't talk at all, that he just sends the money and speaks to the kids. And it just seems like there's something deeper happening. He's very secretive, and that doesn't help the situation. So we drop right into that fight, and Ashley is heated because Jonathan was like, tell your wife the truth. And Manuel is still sticking to his story that he didn't send money when he was in New York, and that he does admit to the producers that he has been talking to his baby mom. And he says in that moment to the producers, I shouldn't have kept that a secret. Yet he doesn't say that to his wife. He's just on the defense. Sir, that would help you to communicate. Instead, in person, he's telling her, why don't you take my word? Why do you listen to everyone else's? And she's like, you've left me no choice. And he repeats, you had my debit card. I didn't have it, so I couldn't send money. And they do like a flashback of that fight in New York where Ashley was like, don't speak to me. And he was like, give me my debit card. Yeah, so it confirms that he didn't have his debit card. But let's be a little serious here. Everything is digital now. I have sent money to the Dominican Republic through Western Union or through some other service online. You don't need to bring in your card. So I hate to be jaded here, but a debit card hasn't stopped anybody from doing nothing. If he wanted to send money, he would have. And I just want to know, what is the truth? Like, are we being told half-truths? Like, Jonathan has no loyalty to Ashley. He would have it to Manuel unless he's like some double agent. Like, what is the truth? And so he does end up threatening to leave again. And at this point, Ashley's like, go. And he does end up going away, I think, on an angry walk. He eventually does come back, it looks like, in the next episode. But yeah, it does not look good. And the whole time, you guys, this fight happens in front of Ashley's sister. And she's just on the couch like, okay, so what are you going to do now? And Ashley's like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Girl, she's not leaving him. She's not. And this cycle isn't going to end unless he gets a personality transplant or she lets go of him. And I don't see either of them happening. So we'll keep up with them in the next episode. So let's move on to the next couple, Loren and Alexie. Loren looks like she's healing up really nicely because when we see her, she's shopping without any bandages. I don't know if she had a faja on, but she had jeans on. The last thing that I would wear are jeans if I'm healing up. So I think she's in good shape. So when we see her, she's shopping for a date night that she's organized because her impotent husband has been very moody and she wants to get some sort of spark back. Like, imagine that taking time for yourself causes a rift between you and your husband. Wild. But she picks up a leopard dress and she's like, I hope this does the trick. Loren does have a real moment with the producers where she's like, the body dysmorphia is still loud even through the surgery, which is expected. You know, surgery isn't just a magic fix. And so finally it's time for date night. The kids are with the babysitter. Alexie's dressed up. She comes out, and I wish she would have done something different with her hair, but the body is tea. The body looks great. He looks excited, and I'm just like, get off her. Get off her. She cannot get pregnant again right now. Give her time to breathe. I'm like, let her be her own person. Let her be just in tune with her own body without crazy things happening. And Loren has the same idea because at date night, she drops in a conversation that shakes the table even though she wasn't trying to, okay? She's like, I know you've been taking a lot of responsibility, and honestly, it's been nice. And the unspoken part of that sentence was, because I do it all the time, so it's nice that you know what it's like. But she didn't say that because, again, Loren doesn't like to shake the table with her misogynistic husband, right? And he's like, yeah, well, I need you to heal up quicker so that you can take over because it's a lot. Yeah, talk about teamwork. That guy is useless, okay? And so she's like, so I kind of, with the surgery, I've been empowered to, I want to be in touch with myself and the things that make me happy. Aside from motherhood and being a wife, I want to get back to marketing and advertising and further my career. And you already see his face in disgust as she's saying these things. And so he's like, what are you saying? And she's like, I want to be a working mom. He's like, no, that's going to conflict with being a mother and a wife catering to my needs. I can do both. And he's like, no, because you're going to have a meeting and it's going to take over. And then I'm going to be home with the kids and you're going to be out gallivanting. Is that what you do when you're not with the kids? And last time I checked, they're both of your kids. Why is it more of her responsibility than yours? Y'all, I was getting so pissed off and I could see that Loren's physicality, she was getting smaller, but I'm so proud of her for still speaking up. She's like, I want to be able to balance it. And we see them in the confessional, months later, having the same fight. And he's like, we agreed to old school values where you take care of the home. And she's like, I did not agree to being a full-time stay-at-home mom. And I just want to remind y'all that Loren was working a remote full-time job with the first two kids because they showed it in the spinoffs that she would be working at home but also taking care of the kids and the home. And it was really stressful, but she was doing it, right? That was her sense of independence while fulfilling all these other roles. And then she didn't want to have the third baby so close. She was pressured. And it's shown on 90 Day, the Diaries episodes. It was showed in the pillow talk. He would constantly be like, yeah, another baby. It was documented in their spinoff. I don't think she wanted to have a third baby so soon. She did want a girl, but not so soon after the trauma that she endured with the first two pregnancies. So I just want to highlight that she has sacrificed herself and her body and her life to create this big picture for them. I also just feel like they have enough resources coming in that they can delegate. If she wanted to have a hands-on nanny on deck while she worked X amount of hours, she could. But I think it's a power thing. And that's highlighted at the dinner when they pan back to it. And she's like, I just want you to be able to support me and cheer for me. And he goes, I'm not going to be no cheerleader. Any man that would have respect for themselves wouldn't be a cheerleader for their wife. This is so disgusting. I've made a full in-depth video on how I feel about Loren and Alexie's situation. You can find that on my channel. It's where I'm talking about his weaponized incompetence. It's obviously a lot deeper, but if you want to get into that, do watch it. Yeah, I'm raging for her. Alexie isn't looking for a partner. He isn't looking for an equal. He's looking for someone that fulfills his bedroom duties and is also a maid and part-time mommy for him too. Gross. Like I said, we'll find out more about that next week. Let's move on to the next couple, Rob and Sophie. It's Rob the Knob's birthday and his wife has left him for the 20th time. So he's like, I'm not going to be depressed and solo dolo on my birthday. He goes back to his hometown, I believe Kansas City. And y'all, I'm going to tell you right now, I did not need a hometown episode about Rob. I did not need him to be in an Uber pointing at streets where his ex-girlfriends lived. We didn't need that, right? We did see him with his mom. He definitely has his mother's eyes. But what's also definite is what they say about mothers just having this blind love for their sons, okay? Because they're talking about his relationship drama. Of course, it is horrific. And, you know, she feels bad for her son, but she says, you deserve better. You are the most loyal person, and you just don't deserve this. And I wanted to laugh so hard because I was like, ma'am, you've been set up.
You are the most loyal person in the world.
If you knew what we know, you'd want to cut the cameras. You were saying that your son is the most loyal on a show where he's been caught cheating a few times. And I just don't know how Rob was able to keep a straight face while his mother was telling him those things. Because, sir, you know your truth, okay? And then they pan to Sophie over at her girlfriend's house, Kay, and they're getting ready for their own kind of night out. And Sophie's like, it's Rob's birthday. And he's with all the people that he loves, except me. You left by choice. He didn't push you away. He didn't tell you that he didn't want you around. You removed yourself. So yes, he's with everyone except you. By design. And so she's being a little mopey. And so Kay is like trying to be supportive. She's like, are you worried that something's going to happen? And then at the same time, she's like, okay, but don't let it affect your night. Basically, don't kill my vibe. We're trying to have a good night tonight. Drinks on me. And I'm like, girl, Kay could give a damn about your marriage. I don't think Sophie has the best people around her. I'm not saying married people can't have single friends, but there's a reason why married people always say that it's important to have like a community of married people because the same silly relationship rules do not apply when you're in a marriage. It's like Sophie already operates like she's in some toxic high school relationship as opposed to a marriage, and she has people like Kay enabling that. And so we do end up seeing the scene with Rob at the club with his friends. And let me just tell you, his ego did not need this kind of evening. Because his ego is already ginormous. And after this night, I feel bad for Sophie because he is feeling his oats, okay? So the bottle girls come through with the sign that says, Happy Birthday, Rob. And usually, they give you the bottles and then they bounce to the next customers. No. I don't know if it's because it's the cameras or because they really do think that Rob is this hunk. They linger around. They get comfortable in the seats. They're giving him shots. And one of them is extra thirsty. She is parched. She kept telling him how cute he is. She's like grabbing onto him, saying, I want to kiss you. I'm going to bite you. And he's like, He's not giving eager excitement, but he's also not rejecting it. He just has this big old grin on his face. There are a few girls flirting with him, but for the most part, there's this one girl. And ultimately, she's like, so are you single? And he's like, it's complicated. Sir, complicated or not, you are married. I also didn't notice if he was wearing his ring or not, but you are married. And ultimately, the girl's like, so can I give you my information? And we don't see his answer, but I'm just like, this does not look good at all. Like, who knows what he did when the cameras were cut off, And so in his confessional, Rob is like, this is what happens every time I go out. I could do some real damage if I wanted to. They're going to replay this scene at the tell-all. Watch there be some never-before-seen scene of him doing something shady. And they're going to show it at the tell-all. And Sophie's going to be livid. Watch. Let's move on to the next couple, Patrick and Thais. Things have been very tense with these two. It's been war of the families ever since they got to Brazil. And so Patrick is like, we need a solo one-on-one date. And so he takes her to the place where they have their first date. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I love places like this. It's one of those places where you get your sides fixings yourself, and then these men come around with these big old meat on a stick, and they cut off slices, and you can get all you can eat. I've been to one of those, and it, of course, is Brazilian. It's called Fogo de Chao. I think it's like a franchise. Obsessed. I went for my friend's graduation. It was so good. Anyway, tangent aside, Thais looks good, okay? She's serving date night looks. Patrick is like, they're very cute. But the conversation takes a turn not too far into this date, okay? Thais is like, it's been hard here, and, I really don't feel good about the situation with your father. Like, he asks for a lot of help. And she put that nicely to say that he asks for help, right? And she's like, but my dad doesn't ask for anything. And Patrick is like, well, your dad hasn't really helped our relationship. And Thais is like, neither has your dad. Already off to a rough start, right? I was at first upset with Patrick because his default is to get defensive. But then as they were talking about it, he did let her in a little more, and it was really emotional. He started crying, she started crying, but he disclosed, he's like, listen, my relationship with my dad is not like yours. He was not around when I was a kid. I was lucky if I saw him once a year. And it wasn't even for like a bunch of hours. It's when he was just like passing through as a truck driver. And so having this apartment, it seems like a useless expense to you, but it's just a few $100s to me. And with this apartment, there's always an excuse for us to spend time together. One, I'm in his building. Two, when he needs labor, I don't view it as labor. I view it as quality time. And I understand Patrick. I just think that is so sad that you feel like you have to earn your father's time and affection, that all of it is so transactional. That's not the way that it should be. But I also can empathize and understand that Patrick is like, if this is what I can get, I'm going to take it. I'm learning, and it's hard. It's a hard lesson. It's a hard lesson that after a certain age, and I think it's generational, our parents can't seem to take on new emotional skills. Unless they really, really work on it, what you see is what you get. And we almost have to find ways to like work around it or remove ourselves completely. I know that a lot of people are no contact with their parents. But if you don't want that and you obviously want to work at it, it takes so much bending. It takes a lot of parenting your own parents. And it's hard. And I think it's extra hard when you have that layer of like abandonment issues. So I can empathize with Patrick, and you can tell that Thais was really taking it all in, and she was really grateful that he let her in because this isn't his MO. He's usually really guarded, even with her. So it was a sweet moment, and she was like, I understand. I didn't know that it was this bad. And so she agrees. She's like, fine, we won't get rid of the apartment. And, you know, I thought that that was very big of her because I feel like her needs initially weren't addressed. It immediately went to his needs, even though she proposed this conversation. But I also, you know, it's partnership. Sometimes you have to worry about one thing and then you can move on to the next one. But I really appreciated Patrick that he also understood in this moment that this is a lot for her. So he was like, thank you. And you can set the terms, the boundaries around how we do this with my father. And so she's like, okay. And so I need to see him follow through on that because so far he seems like a bit of a pushover when it comes to his dad. But so far they're leaving, you know, on a good note. And so while she's like, okay, well, I'm doing this for you, I need you to bond with my dad and ask for the blessing. Because apparently they're going to this vacation, and she's like, yeah, I want my dad to join us. Patrick doesn't seem too pleased because he recognizes that the dad doesn't really like him, but he's like, we came for family, it makes sense. On that note, can John come and can you try to get along with him because it's important too? Thais is like, must I? Sure. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is going to be a mess. There's too much tension. People have all this animosity towards each other. I don't know if it's going to go well. Also, when Patrick agreed on having the dad around, he's like, yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then maybe I'll ask for the blessing. He didn't say, yes, I'm going to ask for the blessing. So his stance has not changed. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, you can see them making out at the restaurant. Patrick is not holding back on the fact that he desires and loves his wife. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have baby number 2 after this trip. But yeah, they're young and in love and they'll figure it out. Next couple, Gino and Jasmine. Oh my God. This pageant experience is low budget, crusty, hilarious, and also Just completely unnecessary. Isn't it just hilarious that Jasmine got into this pageant because she wanted to eliminate stress? It's almost like she forgot that she's the most insecure human in the world. And also, she's a newbie to pageants, so by design, it would be stressful. I'm sure she didn't foresee and Gino didn't foresee that this experience would just amplify all of those things. And it doesn't help that Gino keeps putting his foot in his own mouth because he just doesn't know when to shut up. He has taken on this persona that he's her manager and her stagecoach, and that's not what she wants. I'm wondering if he's acting like this because he's like, well, I paid for this. I might as well get something out of it. She better come home with the crown. I mean, otherwise, I'm just like, why do this to yourself? Jasmine is trying on this bathing suit, and she's like, I'm the queen. And Gino's like, you can work on your posture. You can work on your smile, the walk. And she's like, you need to say that I'm perfect, that I'm a 10. And he's like, right now you're like a 4. Jasmine, like, you're not going to be a freaking expert in your first pageant. But even if you thought that, Gino, I just feel like you know your wife. You were the crazy man that chose her. Why would you tell her that you think she's a 4? I think that was the number that he gave her. The point is, it wasn't a 10. And she was like, you're supposed to say I'm a 10. Ma'am, do you want the truth? He doesn't want you to make a fool out of yourself, so he's trying to give you pointers. He's not taking any of the cues that she doesn't want his input. She just wants him to think that she is heaven sent. And Gino hasn't got that memo. And so we do see the swimsuit part of the pageant. And y'all, it was bad. First of all, the place looked low budget. It looked like just any old conference hall in a hotel. The stage was bigger than the audience, and Jasmine forgot every single critique that she was given. Not by Gino, by her actual stage coaches. Her walk was very fast. Her smile was big. She was way too sharp. She wasn't graceful. And I guess at the end, she didn't really know what to do, so she gave one of these. Like she's doing runway. The rules of runway do not apply to pageantry. And you can see that the judges with the crowns were like, girl, that might have worked for Instagram. It's not going to work for pageants. I was like, oh no. And you could see Gino's face in the audience like, and so when they're walking back to their hotel room, it's like silence, but they're like looking at each other. Because he's like, if you don't want to hear my input, I'm not going to say anything, right? Because he's going to tell her the truth that she was bad. And I feel bad because obviously you want your loved one to hype you up. Babe, you look amazing, X, Y, and Z. But if you're there to win, it's complicated. Because if you're there to win, like you want someone to give you pointers so that you can look good. But Jasmine isn't set up that way. Anything that he says, she's going to make into something completely bigger and nastier. In the room, she ends up asking him his opinions, and he comments on her walk and comments on her posture. And she's pissed. She's like, I appreciate your support. Because obviously she doesn't think he's supporting her. But she's like, I appreciate your support, but moving forward, you're uninvited for my rehearsals. And Gino's like, what? You don't want me there? She's like, I appreciate it, but I don't want you there. And Gino is more upset than I imagined because I think he viewed this experience as like a group project. And so he's like, wow, she's pushing me away. Is she embarrassed of me? She doesn't want me around? Like what am I doing here? That's a good question, Gino. You were finessed into a pageant where she's not excelling. And that money could have gone to something else. But here we are. She tells him, she's like, I need you to be my husband because right now as a coach, you're breaking me down. And that's not what I need. And I get that. I do. So yeah, I don't think the rest of it is going to go down so smoothly. And I think she's going to find a way to blame Gino. So we're going to get more of that next week. You guys, I'm editing this video and I forgot to mention Kobe and Emily. They basically had the most heartwarming scenes in this episode, so I probably forgot them because there wasn't any drama. So we jump back in at their wedding, and as you guys recall, we left off with Valerie, aka Kobe's most hater-ass friend, giving a speech. And they had left us on a cliffhanger. But when Valerie starts his speech, it is kind of awkward. He's like, you know, when Kobe, a black man, black king, got with this white woman from America, we were all worried. She knows. She knows. I didn't hold back. But if he's happy, then we are all happy. And then afterwards, he's like, to the producers, he's like, you know, but I'm still going to be checking in on Kobe because I'm not sure about her, but fine, I'll accept it. But in person, they all hug it out. And I guess this is the beginning of a fake friendship because Valerie does not like Emily, okay? And yeah, so the wedding festivities continued. It was really nice to see them get their blessing from the leader of their, I don't want to call it is it a tribe? It's just so nice to see that their kids got to witness this, you know, and be among so much family that looks like them. Because I can imagine that it does not feel like that where they live currently. I also just love how down Emily has been to take part of every single tradition. She is overjoyed. She looks incredible. She looks so regal. But she's also like doing the dances and just expressing gratitude at every moment. I thought that was so beautiful. The next time we see them, it's on their final day. See them go to Kobe's family to say their goodbyes. And you guys, I can't stress enough how happy I am that their kids got to experience this. Sure, it's nice, you know, to blend the cultures between Emily's family and Colby's family, but the kids, it's all about the kids. Seeing them in their Cameroonian outfits, seeing them get excited going to grandpa's house, like all of that. Those are memories that are going to stick with them forever. Even if they don't actually remember it, they're going to have this footage. They're going to have these photos. It's just so special. So as a parting gift, Emily decided to bring Kobe's dad an American Dad outfit. And he comes out looking exactly like her father. So cute. I love their little dance. They were so excited to have this moment. And yeah, then it was time to go. They all had to go back to the Airbnb and pack. And my heart just broke for Kobe. I literally started crying when his dad had this beautiful quote about like, far from the eyes, but not from the heart. Something like that. I'll put it up if I find it. But oh my God, his dad is such a sweet man. I can tell that this is who Kobe grew up to be. And yeah, they were all saying their goodbyes, and you could see how hard this was on Kobe because after all, he hadn't been back home in years. So I'm sure that this trip, you know, meant so much to him, and his dad kept raving about how proud he is of his son and of his new family. It was just so touching. So seeing them wave goodbye at the end pretty much wrecked me. I'm wondering how many episodes now we have before the tell-all. I think the next one is the last, or maybe we have 2 more. I don't know, but I've been seeing teasers online about the tell-all and it looks crazy. It looks like they're all going to be living in like this big old house together. Kind of last season where we saw all these like behind the scene footage before and after the tell-all where all the drama went down, particularly with Big Ed and Liz. So yeah, all of these people in the same house, Angela, Jasmine, Big Ed. It looks crazy. So I kind of want these episodes to fly by so we can get to the tell-all. It's wild. Yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.